Hello, everybody. And I want to welcome everyone to another episode of the Capital Gains Tax Solutions Podcast, also stream on Expert CRE Secrets Podcast. Yes, we stream on both of them at the same time, YouTube, iTunes. Oh, iTunes is not streaming, but we'll get there later. But every single day we are trying to release some new content for you, and we're bringing in some of the best real estate, financial, and wealth advisors in the world, where they share their ideas, deal stories, and inspiration. Together we make complex tax deferral strategies simple and passive income plans achievable. Today we're talking about where we are in the 18 and a half year real estate cycle. It's actually 18.6 to be precise. And I'm excited about our next guest. He's out of the great state of North Carolina. He may or may not be a Duke basketball fan. We're going to find out here in a minute. But he's all about focusing on helping you raise your income, investments, and life to the next level. And he's the founder and principal of Next Level Income. And since retiring after 18 years in the medical device industry, he dedicates his time to helping others become financially independent through education and investment opportunities and so much more. Please welcome to the show with me, Chris Larsen. Chris, how are we doing?
Brett, great to see you again. We're doing great.
Absolutely. And for our listeners, get to know you for the first time, could you give us a little more about your story and your current focus?
Yeah. So, you brought up a little bit about it in my bio there. I started buying real estate, investing in real estate when I was 21 years old. I talk about this in my book, which I'm happy to share with your listeners. But my best friend passed away in between my freshman and sophomore years of college. All I wanted to do then was race bikes, Brett. I was in school for biomechanical engineering, went back to school, raced another year, hung up the bike, hung up everything. And the reason was I wanted to live life to the fullest. And I realized that riding my bike around in a circle wasn't really going to allow me to achieve that. And I wanted to do more with my life. I wanted to honor the life that I had, and that my friend, he didn't have the life to do that anymore. And I said, you know what? I have to have financial independence to do this. I read over 250 books, got an MBA in portfolio management, bought my first property, decided real estate was my path. And over the years, we've evolved from residential to commercial to syndications. And, all along the way, I've used demographics and really now kind of refine that into kind of the real estate cycle that we'll be talking about today.
Absolutely amazing. I love that you've taken the challenges of life and the loss of your friend to try to make an impact and help others live life at the next level. By the way, you can learn more about Chris by going to nextlevelincome.com. That's nextlevelincome.com. And so let's dive right into the topic at hand, Chris, which is where are we in this 18.6 year real estate cycle? Chris, Let's start with that. Where do you think, where are we? Where should we start with this?
We are in the best part of the cycle in terms of where real estate is accelerating. And that may surprise some people, especially when you look back and you say, wait a minute, Chris, like interest rates are high and we just had this huge run up and, we got through COVID. Like, how does this make any sense? But this day goes back to the 1850s since we started recording this in this country. It's based on the work by Fred Harrison. There's a couple other great books. This is one I pulled out in my drawer here before the recording today. It's called The Secret Life of Real Estate and Banking. And in it, Phil Anderson tracks these cycles. And if you average them out, some may think it's a typo when it says 18.6, but that is the average. And if you break that down, you can look at, economists and you hear 7-year cycles, 10-year cycles, and you look at that and you're like, well, does that really fit into this? And actually it does usually, because that 18.6 year cycle is really 2 7-year cycles separated by a mid-cycle slowdown, which it happened during 9/11. It happened during COVID. Some people may say this is crazy. I didn't predict COVID, but I was talking about this in late 2019, how we were setting up for this mid-cycle slowdown. Lo and behold, COVID happened. I got really interested in like what was going on economically with COVID and how that worked out. And then lo and behold, what happened? The government stimulated the economy. Real estate took off like it always does in the second half of the cycle, which is another 7-year cycle. So if you track that back, okay, where are we? We're about halfway through that 7-year cycle now. And this is when things really pick up. So I'm kind of curious because I'm like, how is this going to happen? How are we going to continue this tear of real estate? So I'm really watching closely the political landscape, interest rates. Are interest rates going to pull back? Are we going to see a lot more infrastructure spending that we see now? But we're smack in the middle, second 7-year cycle, right before what is typically a 4-year slowdown.
Okay, so based upon the data that you've studied with the guy named Fred Harrison, I think you said Fred Harris, you're saying that he says there's these two windows, 2 7-year cycles, when there's typically a slowdown between the two. And so obviously the first one happened when 9/11 was after that. And then the second one was COVID. I think I kind of caught that. Well,
Yeah. So that was,
yeah.
yeah. So those were the two mid cycles. So let's back it up. Let's back it up, Brett. So if you're listening, 2012 was the beginning of the current cycle we're in. So that was the end of that 4-year down period from 2008 to 2012. So we started up 7 years up into 2019, mid-cycle slowdown, 2020, 7 more years up, 26, 27, and then 4 more years. So if you track back to 2020, right, which was the mid-cycle slowdown, you go forward about 7 years, we're looking at, we're entering 2024. We're right in the middle of that second 7-year up cycle.
Okay. Wow. And so the thought would be, you said before I think cut you off, there's going to be a 4-year what? What was that next thing?
Yeah. So typically what we see is 7-year cycle, mid-cycle slowdown. That's probably where that 0.6 years comes in there if you average it all out. 7-year, mid-cycle slowdown, 7-year, that's 14 and a half years, and then 4 years after that. So if we add 7 plus 7 to 2012, we're looking at 2026, 2027 before we enter that 4-year down cycle typically.
Okay. All right. Well, okay. So if that's all true, what do we start to do about this, Chris, and or anything else to add to where we're at in this cycle? Chris might be delayed out right now.
Yeah. Can you still hear me? I saw a little blip in the screen here.
Did you catch?
Are we good? All right. That was the mid-cycle slowdown right there.
It was. See, boom, right? We planned that perfect, right? Go ahead.
That's right. Okay. So, yeah, I think you asked well, what do we make of all this, right? Like, what do we do with this? Is that what your question was?
Yes.
Yeah. All right. So first off, there's certain things that you can do during different parts of the cycle. So let me rewind real quickly. So as you come out of the down cycle, we started building spec homes. You can buy land cheap. It's cheap to build. There's high margins for development earlier on in the cycle. As you get later on in the cycle, rents rise. It makes a lot of sense to buy income producing properties, commercial real estate. Like we started buying multifamily, mobile home parks, self-storage, those sorts of properties. As rents rise, net operating income rises, those prices get higher. And all of this, if you really kind of peel it back and say, well, what is this all built on? It's all built on credit creation around the price of land. So as land prices go up, there's more credit, there's more money floating around in the system, and that enables the ability for this kind of virtuous cycle to continue until we get overheated. So at this part in the cycle, we typically see interest rates rise. You can go back 18 years to the early 2000s. You can go back before that. You can go back into the 70s and see the high interest rates then. And, we can talk about why that is with demographics and why they're different at different points in time, because basically interest rates are the price of money. So supply of money, demand of money, high demand, high interest rates, if that makes sense. So what do you do as part of the cycle when real estate prices are high and interest rates are high? I like operating real estate, which I think you and I spoke about last time I was on the show. Car washes, mobile home parks, senior housing facilities, short-term rentals. What do all these things have in common? They have the ability to have rent as well as operating profit, which allows you to continue to have a profitable business built around real estate, even during times of high interest rates, if that makes sense.
I think it does. And so let me see if I can unpack a little bit more of that. So when you're coming out of cycles, right, land tends to be cheaper, which makes, and perhaps even things are lower. And I feel like labor costs has gone down and supply chain stuff has dropped some of the costs for supplies. And so it's to build. And then once it's kind of mid-cycle, when rents rise, then you want to buy maybe existing like multifamily things that are already in pace where you can just raise the rents when it's rising. And then, the value of the land continues to go higher, and which creates more credit. And then it becomes, I think I caught the last part, but maybe you say that again. You want to buy and own stuff that takes the operations centered around real estate, like the car washes, the mobile home parks, the Airbnb type of properties. Is that a fair summary?
Yes. Yeah, I think that's a very good summary. And I think, one thing you mentioned, I don't think that it's kind of like oceans and tides and waves. I'm not saying, hey, we can predict the waves and like the little things that are occurring, like how much, stimulus the government puts in, or these supply chain shocks, but we can look at the overall real estate cycle. So if we're focused on real estate, that's why I mentioned those types of businesses. But really during this part of the cycle, Brett, what I think makes sense is to lower the amount of debt you have, right? So start paying down debt as interest rates go up, and really focus on cash flow. So reasonable amounts of debt, high quality properties, and really good cash flowing pieces of real estate or businesses, I'm a real fan of in this part of the cycle.
Yeah, that makes perfect sense when debt's not your friend, right? Which when interest rates are rising and you're in these negative arbitrage situations where your cap rates are lower than your interest rate, you want to get out of that bad debt now that used to be really good debt, right? Really attractive debt, pay down that debt and continue to operate really well so you can cash flow better. So which brings me to this point, Chris. Do you feel like sellers are finally starting to realize that, hey, values aren't here anymore that used to be, but they're also, those that can hold on are like, I can hold on, right? It's like at least in the single family world, it's like I have the 30-year lock. It's like the 30-year freeze. They're like, why would I sell my house when I have a 2.5 to 3% interest rate fixed? And I have to go buy it 6 or 7%. Like, it's crazy, right? I'd rather just stay in my house and not sell. But commercial real estate is completely different, right? Where they're typically locked for 3 to 5 years, 7 or 10 if you're really lucky. But most are, these rate caps are expiring, and now they're facing, negative arbitrage situations. So talk about, navigating all that.
Yeah. So it goes into, look, you want to have reasonable amounts of debt. You want to pay your debt down. You want to really start to build cash as well during this. Again, during this part of the real estate cycle, you can still get good deals. You can still get good cash flowing assets that are out there. And what we're seeing now, as you mentioned, is, as the Fed is just, driven rates higher faster than we've ever seen in history before. A lot of people with floating rate debt, and look, we have some of our properties with floating rate debt and some of those interest rate caps that you mentioned. It really cuts into your cash flow. So you have to say, okay, what do you do? We have good fundamentals in all of our properties. So why would we sell if we have good fundamentals and we expect lower interest rates now as the Fed has started to pause, or we do have ways to refinance. So then kind of the other part of your question is, what are we seeing? If sellers aren't selling and buyers aren't buying, are we seeing that start to change? So there's always sellers, there's always buyers in different parts. Right now, it's definitely it's hard to say if it's a buyer or a seller's market because there's not a lot of inventory, whether you're talking about residential or commercial. But one of the things we are seeing specifically in the mobile home space is, sellers that a couple of years ago were saying, hey, just give me cash, give me the money. I don't want to own or finance. They're saying, well, hey, Chris, we'll take a carry back at 6 or 7%. And when you're buying these properties at an effective 7-8% cap rate, and you can get, an interest only seller carryback loan at 6%. And sometimes they even delay payments or waive payments. Like we're working on a deal right now where there's no interest for the first year. Now you're back into that positive arbitrage situation, right, Brett, where you have a cap rate that's higher than those interest rates. So I think we are starting to see that. We're starting to see some sellers figure out like what their price of their properties are. They're like, I want to sell it, and I'm just going to dig my heels in. The right buyer comes along, and nobody comes along. So we're definitely starting to see some of that open up. But it's definitely a much leaner market than it was from a deal perspective in the last few years.
Great overview, Chris. By the way, you can learn more about Chris Larsen by going to nextlevelincome.com, nextlevelincome.com. And Larsen is spelled Larsen. He is out of Asheville, North Carolina. I promise you, we would talk a little bit about basketball because he is in North Carolina. So, Chris, if you had to claim a team there, would it be the Tar Heels? Would it be the Blue Devils? Would it be the Wolf Pack? Or is it just someone completely different, Chris?
Yeah, look, I think, going back to watching Sweet 16 with my mom, I'll never forget UNC, Chapel Hill, and watching them win. It was back in the 90s for the first time. So I'd have to go with UNC from a basketball perspective. But I'm going to flip it on you, Brett. My boys play lacrosse, and two of the best college teams in the country are Duke and UNC. And we're big fans of both, but I think Duke has probably the best player maybe in the world right now, Brennan O'Neill. So we're big Duke lacrosse fans.
Well, that's really cool. I like that. And since I'm a Duke basketball fan, then I might as well be a Duke lacrosse fan because I don't claim anyone for lacrosse at this time. So why not?
Deal.
You got the best player in the world. You got one of the most beautiful campuses in the world,
Oh,
and
it's nice.
Duke
Yeah.
Duke lacrosse all the way. Okay, cool. So, Chris, what else should we be asking right now, or talk a little bit about how people want to maybe invest or work with you guys? How you guys do that, and in some of the ways that people can get connected with you guys.
Yeah, so we got several resources, free resources, some tools that you can use during this period. I'm a big fan of what you do, Brett. We're just talking about somebody I sent to you here before the show. If you're trying to store up some capital and you don't want to just keep shoving money into deals right now, obviously what you do, Brett, is a great option. We also have resources on our website. You can get a free copy of our book. Click on the book link at nextlevelincome.com. If you want to learn more about what we call our investment optimizer, which is specially structured life insurance policies, where you can earn 5-6% on your money instead of being forced to put it in a deal. We talk about that under our banking section. And then if you want to learn investments in multifamily, self-storage, mobile home parks, car washes, you can check out our invest link and learn more about that too.
That's awesome. By the way, I do want to take people to this website because this is a cool website with some excellent resources. So I'm going to if you're on YouTube, you can see this. If you're just driving, then you're going to have to go to the YouTube channel, search Capital Gains Tax Solutions. But let me see if I can't grab oh, there it is. It's this little click here. All right. Oh, shoot. They might want to have to approve of this. But Chris, I guess let's talk about it while I'm trying to pull it up. But
Sure.
actually, I got it. It's here. Okay. So hopefully you guys can all see that here in about 3 seconds. 3, 2, 1. Okay. Boom. All right.
Oh, yeah.
And we're on this. This looks pretty cool. So Chris, explain this deal analyzer page. It's the LP deal analyzer complete limited partner bundle. Get all this for just $200. Talk about it.
Yeah, so if you go to our resources page or a resources link on our website, nextlevelincome.com, it'll take you to our LP deal analyzer that my partner built out. And what you can do, and this is challenging, matter if you are a new limited partner investor or if you've been doing this a while, how do you know the right questions to ask? So we have all the qualitative things that you can ask a sponsor or a general partner, and then we help you quantify that with a score. So you can actually go down through these questions, answer the questions, yes, no, with a score associated to it. So you can stack rank the investment options that you have and really gain some clarity around the options that are out there. And then you can track those investments as well. And one of my favorite features is the FI path, the financial independence path. It will show you how long it's going to take you based upon your specific parameters or your assumptions for deals to achieve financial independence. And what we teach our clients in our coaching course, Brett, is most people, if you're not living way beyond your means and you're an accredited industry, you're making good money, you're high income, you can typically achieve this in 7 years, even just investing passively. So again, if you want to check out our coaching course, you can send an email to coaching@nextlevelincome.com, and you can find the LP deal analyzer under resources and click on LP deal analyzer.
Yeah, that's amazing, and this is so detailed and so laid out, and I love what you're doing here. So everyone, check that out. Check that out. Cool.
And there is a discount on our website. I think it said $199 there, but if you go through our website, nextlevelincome.com, and click on that link, there will be a discount.
Okay, so it looks like there's a discount there. So check that out. Fantastic. That being said, Chris, are you ready for the lightning round?
Brett, I was ready from the word go today, man.
Okay. All right. Knowing what you know now, Chris, if you could go back to your 20-year-old self, what's the one gold nugget? Make sure to tell yourself to do.
Get a coach.
Fantastic. Question number 2. What's the number one book you've recommended or given the most in the past year?
Well, I'm gonna go with the book I showed today to cheat a little bit. The Secret Life of Real Estate and Banking. When it comes to this topic, I really think, look, it's pretty thick. It goes back through a lot of the stuff. And Akil Patel wrote The Secret Wealth Advantage, which kind of distills this book down, but uses the same topics, the same theory, and all the same data and information that we talked about today. That's called The Secret Wealth Advantage by Akil Patel.
Fantastic. Question number 3. What are you most curious about right now?
I'm sorry, you cut out there just for a second. What was that?
That was the second cycle cut out, right? So the first one was the first one, mid-cycle. Okay.
We better get off
you,
before the end slowdown, right? Yeah.
what are you most curious about right now?
Yeah, as I mentioned, I'm really curious about how the government is going to involve itself in the economy here, and that includes the Fed. So we're going into an election year, which is probably going to be pretty wild. And typically during election years, governments, bolstered by the party that's in power, wants to stimulate, wants to have a really good economy. So I'm really curious what that's going to look like here over the next year.
So is the whole world. It'll be really, really interesting. Next question.
Fire up those Twitter accounts.
Oh, it's gonna be great. It's gonna be great entertainment. Hopefully good outcome for America and the world. Okay. Next question. Number one leadership quote or theme that you strive to live by. Did you miss it? Did we miss it?
I think I did.
Okay, that's okay. We're going to the next question. That's all right. Number one way you use Chat GPT to grow your business.
Yes. So, Chat GPT. So I'm working with a new AI tool that helps learn my voice through all the videos I've done, all the writing I've done to help us write in kind of my voice, which I just learned about this about a month ago. So it's not Chat GPT per se, but it is AI.
Well, what's it called?
I have to look it up. I forget the name of it here. Yeah.
Do you think the AI is going to be offended because it's like listening and it's so intent and it's like, getting to know you, but you don't even know its voice?
It's probably going to make me sound. Yeah, it's going to make me sound worse after this.
Its name.
It's going to be a scorned lover. It's going to go and yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Cool. No, that's really it, Chris. Last question is, after all your success, doing all the things you've done to help all the people level up their income on nextlevelincome.com, how do you stay centered in your values and stay encouraged to keep charging forward to reach even higher heights?
Yes, I do that looking and living with my children. My boys are 13 and 11, soon to be 12 years old. And you got kids as well, Brett, and trying to be a better father for them and kind of see things through their eyes and trying to make the world a little bit of a better place, knowing that they're hopefully going to be inheriting it, keeps me centered, leveled, and motivated.
Amazing. Chris Larsen, I want to thank you for being on the show and thank you for sharing your wisdom with us, giving us the insights on these the real estate cycles that are going on and how to take some action to invest and continue to invest into real estate. For our listeners who want to get in touch with you, would you remind them one last time what's the best place for them to find you?
Yeah, absolutely. Nextlevelincome.com is the best way. You can get a free copy of our book. You can check out our coaching, learn how to invest. Check out all our resources there, including the LP deal analyzer that you mentioned under the resources link, Brett. And thanks for everything you do, my friend. I really appreciate it.
Absolutely. Thanks, Chris. I also want to thank our listeners for listening to another episode of the Capital Gains Tax Solutions podcast, where we believe most high net worth individuals and those who help them, they struggle with clarifying their capital gains tax deferral options. Not having a clear plan is the enemy. Using a proven tax deferral strategy such as the deferred sales trust is an amazing way for you to create and preserve more wealth. We're also streaming on expert CRE secrets as well. So all the commercial real estate people out there, thank you so much for listening. Check out the book, Building a Capital Gains Tax Exit Plan, hit #1 bestseller. We got Kevin Harrington from Shark Tank in the book, and this will help you exit and defer hundreds of thousands to millions of dollars of capital gains tax, eliminate estate tax, and unlock a wealth plan that you can invest on your own timing, on your own terms, all tax deferred without ever having to use a 1031 exchange ever again. Check that out. And if you're going to be in a 1031 exchange, make sure you also reach out to us because we have the brand new best 1031 plan. Go to experttaxsecrets.com for that. What does that give you? It gives you a backup plan in case your 1031 fails. If you're going to be on a flight and you're going over the rough seas across the ocean from one continent to the next, sometimes what a 1031 feels like. You got to be having a parachute in case the thing fails. And the best 1031 plan we give you gives you that parachute. Where all the others out there, you're just going to be crashing into the ocean. We don't want you to do that. We want you to be able to jump out and parachute down, defer that tax. Go to experttaxsecrets.com for that. And or for all of this, if you're going, this is a lot of websites, just go to brettswartz.com. brettswartz.com. We're trying to make it actually very simple there. I'll probably just use that in the future.